In this video, we're going to go over the Fantasy Grounds Classic Launcher, which is the first thing that you will see when you go ahead and start up Fantasy Grounds after it's been installed. So taking a look at the interface of the launcher here, we have a series of buttons that we'll be using for loading, managing our campaigns, loading and creating our campaigns, as well as some buttons that are used here by players to join games and to manage their characters. Here on the front page of the launcher, we have a series of links. These are all very helpful links to resources that can help you if you have questions about Fantasy Grounds, including release notes, including how you can get help, how you can get support from the official Fantasy Grounds groups. Here in the top right, we have the version of Fantasy Grounds that we currently have installed. At the time of this video, this is version 3.3.8 of Fantasy Grounds Classic. And it'll have some information about the license, whether you have a full license or an ultimate license or a demo will be displayed up here. In addition, when we're working with Fantasy Grounds, it's quite often that we will need to have access to the Fantasy Grounds data directory. Now, the data directory is where all of the information about all of your campaigns, extensions, modules, and all of that sort of thing is stored on your hard drive. This is different from the installation directory, which is where the actual executables are. So in order to access the data directory, you have the choice of manually drilling through your hard drive to try and find it and locate it. But that's not necessary because you do have the option of using this little button right here. Now this little folder button icon allows you to click it and it will pop up a window directly to the Fantasy Grounds data directory. Now that's where you have, again, as I said, all of the various folders, modules, extensions, etc. That are installed. So taking a look here at the interface, before we jump into any of these, let's take a look at the settings. So click on settings. And when you click on settings, it's going to pop up with this interface. It'll go through and may ask for a security alert, but when you do that, first off, this is where your license key will go. If you've purchased the full or ultimate, you'll be able to put that license key there so that it's registered correctly. This app directory, in general, you shouldn't ever need to change this. This is where the executables for your application are installed. The data directory, there will be a default folder located here. You can change it if necessary. Most of the time you won't need to. This is that same data folder we got access to a moment ago on the other, with that little button. Here we have our UI scale. So the user interface scale, you can give yourself a little bit more room on Fantasy Grounds by changing the scale. So it grows or shrinks the various elements to make a better visual experience for you. So you can play around with those to see what's comfortable for you in terms of being able to have enough space on the screen while at the same time being able to read all of the text. This next button, cross-platform compatibility mode for Linux and Mac. In general, you shouldn't need to check it. There are some individuals which have graphical issues with the default Fantasy Grounds, and they may need to use this, but in general you shouldn't need to check this unless someone in support has recommended it to you. Here on the purchases area, you can click manage and you can add in your account, and this is going to be managing your purchases through Fantasy Grounds, through Steam, Paizo, those kinds of things, and making sure that all of those things are linked up. Last up, we have our modes. The mode determines which version of the Fantasy Grounds executables you will have downloaded and installed. Most people should be on the live, players and GMs alike should be using the live mode. This gives you the latest officially released version of Fantasy Grounds and keeps that up to date. People who are involved in extension writing and other kinds of development may need to use the test mode so that they can test out features for an upcoming, as yet unreleased version of Fantasy Grounds. And the dev mode, again, is for people who are doing more testing, and this may change frequently, so there's almost never a need for most people to ever use the dev mode. Once we've made the settings and got them configured the way we want, we can click OK and click Close. Now coming back here to the Fantasy Grounds interface, we do have the Check for Updates button next to the settings. Now this Check for Updates button, if there are updates that are published by Smiteworks on the Smiteworks store or Steam store, this button will turn red, and you'll just be able to click it and it'll go through and process all of the updates. This Check for Updates cannot and does not check for Dungeon Masters Guild product updates. So if you have a module that you've purchased from there, you'll have to manually download and install those updates yourself. In addition, it won't update things that you found and downloaded for free off the forums or other places on the internet. Now, as players, you'll then tend to use the Join Game and Manage Characters. Join Game will have a username and a host address. You'll use whatever host address has been provided by the DM, whether it's an IP address, as you see here, or a 4-word alias, which many GMs will be using. For DMs who do want to test things on their local interface, it is possible to launch a second instance of Fantasy Grounds. You don't have to install it twice, but you just go ahead and relaunch Fantasy Grounds using the same link. And in the first instance, you'll open up the campaign that you want to connect to. And in the second instance, you'll join the game. And in the host address portion, you'll see here you can put in the word localhost. And this will join to that first instance as a player. So you can see both how it looks as a DM and how it looks as a player for what their experiences will be. The other button that we have available on this interface is this nuke or clear player cache button. Now the clear player cache is if you are having issues in your campaign where players are having either corrupted images or they're getting blank images coming over, you can try to clear this out. Now this will clear out all of your players' settings and anything that they've downloaded from your from a DM's game. So what it'll do is the next time that they go ahead and reconnect to that DM's session, it will have to re-download all of the artwork, maps, tokens, etc. That are being shared with them. Also, as a player, we have the Manage Characters section where you'll just select a rule set that you want to create your characters in, apply any extensions if you have any that you want to use, and then click Start. And that'll open up the Manage Characters interface in which you can create your characters. Down here on the bottom of this section is the campaigns. Now what this does is these are read-only copies of characters from specific campaigns. So if you want to make an export of a character from a campaign, you can go ahead and click on that, open it up, and make an export of those characters. If you try and change anything, it won't save because the official copy is located on the DM's PC, not on the player's local PC. Next up, we have our Create New Campaign. So when we're creating a new campaign, we have our address information, making sure that we are able to connect. We have our campaign name, username, and password. Select your rule set and extensions, and this will be covered more fully in another video. And then we also have our load campaign. Our load campaign allows us to select campaigns that we've previously created. If necessary, we can change the password that was placed on it or the username if necessary, and add or remove any extensions. Thank you.